Well, the rain that was forecast never actually arrived. Turns out we didn't need it. 107 overtakes, but not one for the lead because Max Verstappen dominated absolutely at the peak of his powers in a perfect car on a perfect day for the reigning world champion. Welcome then, folks, to your post-race show from the paddock here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, where it is getting busy, and we're going to run through the entirety of the Spanish Grand Prix, a very busy Spanish Grand Prix, an absolutely thrilling Spanish Grand Prix, which has seen Max Verstappen take yet another victory, his 40th in Formula One, Red Bull's 99th, as I said, 107 overtakes in what was a thrilling race, a bit of a crazy race, and one which we are going to run through with the reigning Formula 2 champion, Aston Martin reserve driver, Felipe Drugovich, who's saying hello to all of his mates. Hello, Felipe.
How are you guys doing?
Very good, mate. That was quite a race.
It was good. First of all, I need to talk about these chairs.
Yes.
The first time we're doing it seated, so it's very comfortable. Thank you very much for this.
It's nice, isn't it? I prefer this.
It's very good. But yeah, the race was good. Enjoyed it.
Crazy race. Verstappen, absolutely brilliant. We saw 107 overtakes on the track today. Mercedes were phenomenal. I know not the best weekend for Aston Martin, but Lance Stroll with a great result as well. So much overtaking. I know that you, back in your Formula 2 days, used to drive in the old version of this track. This is actually an older version of the track, but it delivered, didn't it, in terms of racing?
Yeah, it did. I was really curious to see what was going to happen with this track now, especially because, you know, we talk about dirty air, and the faster you go, the more dirty air you get, and this track is a lot faster, the last sector. So I was scared of not getting so many overtakes, but it looks like the tow effect was good, so people could, you know, slipstream by, and we got so many overtakes, which was good.
Max Verstappen pushing all the way to the end, got the fastest lap in the end, but almost got in a little bit of trouble. Stay within the white lines was the words from the pit wall to him. Really having a push out there.
That guy is impressive, you know. He's 30 seconds in front at that point. Obviously, he needs to pit yet, but still, he's pushing like if he's, you know, Pilas, and it's incredible to see how much he's pushing all the time. And you know, it's that's why it takes him there, and it's very impressive to see. And it was actually quite funny to me. I was like, mate, you're 20 seconds in front. Why are you pushing that much? And the guy is just all over the place. But you know, when they asked him to stay within the lines, was good.
Yeah, the GP was like, right, you've set the fastest lap, calm it down, bring it home. Good day also for Sergio Perez. Really disappointing in qualifying, another mistake, lacked the confidence, didn't make it a Q3, pulled it back today, not quite on the podium, but P4 and strong pace.
Yeah, it was really good for him. We were, I think everyone was, you know, finding a bit strange the result from yesterday because he didn't really have the pace and, you know, a few mistakes here and there. But I think he found the confidence now, and it was good for him.
Yeah, it was a really nice drive from Sergio Perez. Great overtake on Sainz as well. That was the wonderful thing about today. The passes weren't done in the pits. They were all done out on track, and phenomenal couple of moves there, particularly the one to really take that fourth place at the end on Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, it was a really good move. You know, I think it took quite a bit for him to get there, but you know, I think the pace of the advantage was quite big, and also with better tires at the end was nothing Carlos could do.
Where do we start now then? Do we look at Mercedes having a great day, Ferrari having a difficult day? I think we'll start with Mercedes having a really great day. They brought those upgrades to Monaco. Couldn't tell much about them there. Brought them over to this weekend. Lewis clearly very comfortable with the car all the way through. George not so much. And then in the race today, by lap 5, they were turning it on. They were passing. They were getting the positions up. George Russell making up loads of places from similar to Checo Perez. Really disappointing qualifying. And what a brilliant result for that team. P2, P3 at the flag.
Yeah, it is. You know, at some point, I think around lap 4 or 5, I think Fernando was, you know, quite close. Well, Russell was quite close to Fernando, and I was like, okay, Fernando is just, you know, taking his time, you know, backing off to the guys behind and trying to kill their tires. And then 2 corners later, Russell was there, passing him and disappeared. So I was like, okay, they're fast now. And you know, I think these new upgrades they brought was, you know, was a good thing for the team. And it's normal. I think they were supposed to bring it for Imola, but then the race didn't happen, and you bring it to Monaco, but the race is so different that you can't see anything, you can't improve anything. But they brought it here, and then they showed it was a really good improvement.
And Hamilton too, obviously Lance got him right at the start with, I got to say, a beautiful move from Lance Stroll on Lewis Hamilton. But then once Mercedes got in their stride, Lewis gets back past again, then gets past Sainz to P2. They've really turned a corner from what's been a very difficult 18 months.
Yeah, but I've always said, like, they are probably one of the only teams that can turn it around during the year. You know, last year they started so far away back, and then they get to Brazil and they are winning like 1-2.
Yeah.
And it was so impressive for me that, and I think they are showing it again this year.
Yeah, Mercedes with a great run to P2, P3. Carlos Sainz P5, Lance Stroll P6, Fernando Alonso P7, then Ocon, Zhou, Gasly rounding out the top 10. It could have been Yuki Tsunoda though. And Yuki, I thought, had a great race today. We heard David Coulthard, we heard Jolyon Palmer in commentary both say they didn't think it was worthy of a penalty, that move on Zhou Guanyu. What did you make of the defensive move from Yuki Tsunoda there?
He was aggressive, but you know, turn one is always one of the. Yeah, you see him here. To be fair, any driver that's gonna be defending up to turn one, they're gonna brake late, and sometimes they go a bit wide, and the driver around the outside has to expect it as well. But I think it's not for me to decide that. But anyway, I think anyone who would have been on the inside, they would have braked as late as they can be, and just try to make the corner.
What kind of a precedent does this set? Because Zhou wasn't alongside, he wasn't past, he wasn't fully alongside. Does it mean you've just got to have half a car on the outside, and if the driver takes the natural line through the corner and you get edged out, you're going to get the position if you sort of phone up the umpire and phone the referee?
Well, from a driver's perspective, I think what we think when we are there, it's like if you're defending, you try to brake as late as you can, still trying to make the corner, and you just try to to squeeze the other guy also to be in front of the apex. And if the other guy managed to be in front of the other guy at the apex, you just hope the other guy doesn't run into you. But at the moment, I think Zhou wasn't really up ahead in the apex, and then at the moment he's just he was side by side. It was fair to him to try to keep it, and it's fair to him to be angry on that because it was aggressive. But at the same time, turn one is always a corner that happens that, and you need to expect someone to run you right there.
Yuki Tsunoda, right up to that point, had a quite magnificent day. I'm sure he's going to be absolutely devastated now, though. Let's hear from him.
Yuki, you're shaking your head. That was an impressive drive. I'm going to start by saying that because you probably feel you deserve some points today.
For us, to be honest, it's after I gave it literally everything, every lap, and I feel like it's really harsh, that penalty, to be honest, in my perspective, and there's still space there, and just other car suddenly run off the area and pretend like he got forced, but there was still space. He could still stay in the track. So in my perspective, I don't know, but it's hard to accept the reality that I lost points after that big race. So yeah, it's disappointed. Yeah, really disappointed.
Obviously losing some points, but perhaps gaining the knowledge that you do have that performance now in the car to take on to the next round. Does that give you some confidence?
Yeah, I'll try my best next one again, obviously, but yeah, we qualify tomorrow. We qualify next one.
Thank goodness not tomorrow.
Higher position. I hope it's tomorrow again.
Oh.
Yeah, had a better position to start, and try to score points more.
Nice to hear from Yuki. Good to hear that he wants to get straight back in that car, go back out racing again. Oscar Piastri has joined us, and we've done some musical chairs. Oscar, not the day McLaren wanted. I know, a P3, P9 start, neither driver in the points at the end. How tough was it out there for you today?
Very, very tough. We knew staying in the points was going to be tricky, especially for myself, starting 9th. With Gasly behind, Russell, Checo. So yeah, we knew it was going to be a difficult afternoon, but that was probably more difficult than even what we thought. So yeah, a struggle.
Yeah, I was talking to Andrea Stella this morning. He said it was almost a sort of a perfect window yesterday with the conditions, cool temperatures. was so hot at race start today, and that rain never came. Were you sort of praying for it to still be cooler and rainy today?
Definitely. Yesterday, in those sort of cooler, tricky conditions where it wasn't fully dry in a few places, we seemed to really excel. Monaco was a similar story on a cold track. Obviously, you need to be very cautious, and we seemed to switch on the tyres very well. So, bit of the opposite problem, switched them on too well to the point where they were on fire at some points today. But yeah, just a struggle, and we need to find out why.
All right, man. I know you've got to go and get a plane, so thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
You've got this lovely,
Cheers.
comfy chair, and you've got to...
Yeah, the chair's the highlight of my day, so thank you to F1.
Mate, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thanks very much to Oscar
Cheers.
Piastri. We can now hear from his teammate Lando Norris, who similarly to Oscar Piastri started in the points today, but finished well outside.
Are you cross with yourself for putting the car where you did, do you think?
No.
Oh, you'd make that move again, going
What
alongside
move?
Lewis at the beginning, I'm just meaning.
On the inside?
Were you
Everyone
kind
just checked up. I wasn't on the inside, so it was just racing. I was just unlucky. That was it.
Okay. And then the rest of your Sunday afternoon, were you frustrated with the
No,
way the
just
race
as
played out?
expected. We knew we were going to be slow and difficult to get in the points. Our target was to try and be in the points today, whether it was 9th or 10th or something. So, yeah, obviously race lap 1 cost us everything, but at the same time, it would have been unlikely to finish in the top 10 today. So, yeah, I guess everyone's expectations were too high after yesterday, which we tried to manage as much as we could, but at the same time, today was the pace that we've had all year, and we're just normal paced. Yesterday was just unknown special day for us, but yeah, as expected today.
Was a Lando Norris qualifying special, potentially, that's what it was?
Oscar did a good job too, but yeah, I don't know what happened. We were just good for one day, but whatever. But
And in
the
terms
car's
of
still too far off.
And in terms of managing expectations then for Canada, what would be the message now as we have a little break?
Nothing different. Just we're probably like the 7th quickest car, 8th quickest car. So we're not even fighting for points at that rate. So just have to keep working hard, keep our heads down. Simple as that.
Good to hear from the two McLaren drivers then. A tough day for them both. Felipe, the conditions really not playing to their strength. They needed it to be cooler.
Yeah, it looks like that. I think if we compare from all the warm or hot tracks we had, especially Bahrain or this kind of tracks, they never really perform. And now looking at Monaco, they were really good when it was quite cold. But it doesn't look like it is the main issue. Looking at this track now, it was quite cold, and then they still had a lot of drag. So yeah, they have to look into it for the future.
Hoping for a major upgrade package to come their way in Austria. We are joined though by Nyck De Vries. Nyck, what a gutting day for AlphaTauri. I know that you guys were so hopeful of a good result today. Qualifying, you were so nearly up to Q3. I know you felt you had the pace for Q3, and just seemed to come unraveled today.
Yeah, it was a shame that we, at least on my side, lost out on many positions at the start. I felt like our whole inside row lost out on many positions. And yeah, then from the beginning of the race, we were a little bit on the back foot and struggling to get by the cars ahead and to be competitive. But in the last 30% of the race, when it was a bit more in clean air, I felt like we did very well. So there were good bits and bad bits. I think overall as a weekend, we made a step up, and very happy with the work the team has done, because I feel like we're getting closer towards top 10. So overall, I think the last 2 weeks have been positive, and I just hope we can continue to build on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you talk about the start, and we were talking just off air a little bit there. Talk us through that start and why being on that inside line sort of unraveled the way that it did and held you back the way it did.
I don't really know. That's why I wanted to see.
I
wanted to see my own board back.
Up.
Yeah, but actually the start was good, and I was close behind Pierre, and I just followed him. I mean, there was no other place to go for me. And I think as we went into turn 2, quite a lot of people on the outside went straight or just stayed out of trouble, and that's how they made positions. And someone ran wide ahead of me, I think ahead of Pierre, and came back on track, and we had to kind of jump on the brakes, and then obviously many people got past.
I think we can have a look at the start replay. Emma, have you got a screen?
Oh, amazing.
Emma's got the screen. We can have a little look. Right. Right, let's have a little look.
We're just looking at ourselves at the moment.
Here we go, on boards. So talk us through it.
Launch is decent, even ahead of Zhou, getting close to Checo.
Yeah, and there's Gasly.
I mean,
and they pulled away from it. We only got 15 seconds.
well, anyway, up to that point, I don't think I could have really been anywhere else than there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you lost a bit of the slipstream from the guys in front. They went for the outer line, so you couldn't do much there.
Anyway.
But I think there was some really promising moments in the race for you today. And just talk to us about the ability to overtake, because there were so many concerns coming into the weekend with the change at the end of the track. Would it increase overtaking? Would it limit overtaking? I think we got one of the best Spanish Grand Prix for us as fans that I've probably seen in the 33 years we've been watching races from here. It was thrilling to watch.
Yeah, I didn't watch 33 years just yet, but I will admit I was a little bit skeptical, but positively surprised how, possible it was to overtake. So I think they, did a good job to make those changes, and it was definitely for the benefit of the show.
How much is the team stepping forward week in, week out? Because we know at the start of the season the car wasn't there. Difficult for both you and Yuki to get a good feel with it. Now we've gone through the difficult races on the street circuits. We're back to more normal circuits now. Certainly
Say that,
you know.
Canada is.
But now
Canada.
we're off to Canada. Yeah. But kind of, once we come back from that, back to the European season again, it looks like you've got a better feel with the car. It looks like you're more at one with the car now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm honestly really proud of the team and the work they've done in the past couple of months, because it really seems like we are making that progress. I think it's now a matter of kind of putting it all together to be consistently close to that verge of the top 10 and then capitalize on opportunities and not give them to others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, well done to you. I think, especially looking into your performance, I think from a driver's perspective as well, I think it's really good to come to a track that you know very well. Every driver knows this track very well. I think you've been in Formula E for a few years, and then you probably don't get that experience in these kind of tracks, and then you come back to this track in F1. It's good for you to compare, and I think the steps forward you can make in driving wise are made in these kind of tracks that and you're confident all the time. So I think it helps to be in a track like this, to be better at driving as well.
Yeah, it definitely helps if you know the track and you have multiple experiences in different cars, and
it just compare with other categories as well.
Yeah, it just gives you confidence. You just know that when you go out, you can brake there, and you can carry that speed. And everyone has done turn 3 and 9 in different cars, and it's always close to flat. And then in a Formula One, it gives you a bit more confidence with a bit more downforce, and it's just helpful.
Canada's a circuit a lot of drivers enjoy. It's fast, it's unrelenting, it's a bit street circuity, but at the same time, it's a permanent circuit. You looking forward to it?
Definitely, I had a really good time there last year. Although this year I get the VIP parking, and last year I had to walk through the mud for about 300 meters.
The parking is so bad.
Yeah, but I guess this year I'll get the privilege to have a short walk in.
I hope that your weekend has more highlights than the parking, my friend.
Cheers.
Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Thank you very much.
I won't see you in Canada, but good luck.
Thank you very much. Safe trails back.
Thanks to Nyck De Vries. You got a feel for AlphaTauri. You got a feel for Nyck, and particularly for Yuki today. A race which promised so much and ultimately didn't deliver for them. But the way those guys are making that car look, the positions they're getting out of it, considering that we don't think it's the best car in the grid, not by a long shot. They're really outperforming it.
Yeah. I think, and also with Nyck now, coming along Yuki and doing a better job, I think the team can, make some big steps forward, and especially for them coming into a track like this.
And here's Zhou. How are you, man?
My teammate from 2021.
Zhou is in a massive rush. He's got to catch a plane, so we're just got to ask you one question. Right, one question. I'll ask a long question. I just saw Ruth Buscombe, your strategist, and she said, we undercut everyone. Strategy was perfect. Drive was perfect. How much did you enjoy being out there today? So many great fights and moves.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but people told me there was a lot of action on TV. It was great to create some actions, but yeah, from my side, I think one of the best races I did in Formula One. Lap 1 start was very strong, and then we had a chance, fighting for the points. And yeah, the time management is so important here. was really spicy in the end with Yuki, all that. But I'm very happy that we execute everything we could.
I just want to ask very quickly, the moment with Yuki, did that deserve a 5-second pen in your mind?
Yeah, I think the steward did a very right call. In general, you know, I had a very good run, had an opportunity into turn 1 and I was ahead into the corner, braking and mid-corner, but then next thing I saw, Yuki wasn't stopping, so I have to take avoid action, escape road. But yeah, actually the team never told me he had a 5 second. All they said was keep pushing, keep pushing. So I was like, I was thinking, yeah, there was a penalty coming, but then when I crossed the finish line on the board, I was able to see my name ahead of him, so really happy for that.
All right, we've got to let you go. Thank you
you.
so much for
Have a good
coming
one.
on. I really appreciate it. Great drive today. A phenomenal drive from Zhou, and at one point in the Grand Prix, a clear pit stop ahead of Valtteri Bottas. He's a driver you know well, of course. He's come on in leaps and bounds over these last few months and races to be outperforming a driver of Valtteri's character and caliber every single weekend. How impressed are you with what you've seen from Zhou this year?
Yeah, very, very impressive. You know, we've been together in 2021 as teammates, and so we know each other very well. And you know, already last year he proved he's very worth much being in Formula One, and already, you know, this year he's already done some good qualifying, and this race was really impressive. You know, I was in pit lane actually, and I just saw both Alphas coming in really, really early, and I was like, what are they doing? And then, but then it paid off because, you know, you pit early, you go out of the traffic, and then you start putting those laps in, and then when the others stop, you're well ahead in them.
Great stuff. Another team with interesting strategy today, Ferrari. Let's start with Charles Leclerc, actually. Charles Leclerc starts from the pit lane, makes his way up to P11 at the flag thanks to Tsunoda's penalty. Looked like just didn't have, I should say, the pace today that you would have expected a Ferrari to have to be able to cut through the field, find his way through.
Yeah, also kind of a strange, you know, strategy they had. They started on hards and pitted really early, so I didn't understand that, to be fair. I don't know if there was a puncture or something, but I don't
Lap
think
17,
so.
It was early.
Yeah, yeah, and the hards were probably supposed to go longer than that, especially starting from the pit lane. And you know, they stopped really early, and from their own, not a great pace. You know, to start from a pit lane, thinking it's a car that is at least supposed to be in the top 6, top 5. Not finishing the top 10 is not amazing from them.
Yeah, strange one today. Let's hear from Charles Leclerc now. Maybe we'll find out why he did have to stop so early on those hards.
Zhou, starting from the pit lane was always going to be difficult. Did you find it as difficult as perhaps we were all going to think it was?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, we've got so much work to do. It's very strange and very difficult to understand because we go on the first set of hard, and it feels so bad, no grip at all, especially the fronts, they were just really, really bad. And then you go in the second stint of hard, and then everything feels fine, and you just do exactly the same thing as the driver, and it just feels in a completely different place. So, yeah, luckily we had much less problems compared to qualifying yesterday, where the car was more doing what we expected. Unfortunately, though, we still have these troubles with tyres, especially on the first stint.
The back end of your car is on the way to Ferrari's HQ in Maranello, so I'm told. Is it going to get worse before it gets better, do you think, in terms of finding the performance in the car?
Sorry?
Is the situation actually going to get worse, do you think, as you try and establish what's wrong with the car this year before it gets better?
Well, I hope not. And to be honest, looking at our weekend, I will struggle to think that it can get worse than that. But yeah, no. The target is to only get better from here.
Thank you.
As Charles says, the target is to get better from here. It feels like it can't go too much further backwards. It's a difficult scenario for Ferrari, particularly on a weekend where they brought such a massive upgrade package onto that car, really rushed it through onto the car. But as Charles said, the first stint felt terrible. They changed onto the new set of tyres. Car suddenly felt alive again. Can you explain to us, just as a driver, how that can happen and what it feels like?
You know, sometimes it's really difficult to understand these tires. You know, sometimes you put it one set and it's okay, sometimes it's not, and you never know what's happened to those tires. Maybe like just a bit of, you know, you leave the tires on the sun or under the sun, or just like anything different from one set to the other can affect a lot the long stint. So yeah, they have to look into it, but something that can happen also when you bring new upgrades, you need to understand them, and hopefully it's just 1 weekend that they need to understand it and just improve from the future.
And massive confidence coming to the race, of course, from Carlos Sainz, starting from the front row of the grid. Started P2, finished P5. First stint, he was saying, I've got pace in hand. The engineers were saying, push, go faster. And he's like, I'm good. And they were like, no, push. And then dropped, out of the podium places.
Probably an opposite story from Charles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's quite weird to see that. Also, it's probably just the way you treat the tires, and they need to understand it.
Well, we are, I think, about to understand exactly how Carlos Sainz feels. We can hear from him now.
Carlos, P5. When the engineers and mechanics leave you on the grid, do you feel you're on the same page in terms of the strategy that's to come? Because there are a few more question marks during this afternoon's race.
No, but you guys know I like interacting and I like participating in the discussions. It's my style of racing, and I will always be like that. But today, I don't think it doesn't matter the pit stop timing. We would have finished P5 with the pace we had and with the degradation we had. So I do believe we did the right thing.
Was it wishful thinking with the home crowd that a podium was possible today, or do you think you actually maximised the package this weekend?
I think we actually maximized everything we had. I gave my absolute best both in the start and the race pace, and I'm just a bit gutted that we couldn't put in a bit of a stronger defense on the Red Bull and the two Mercedes, because they were just so much quicker than us that it wasn't even worth fighting them, because they would have passed me one lap later or another. No? So I did my absolute best, but unfortunately this is what we have now.
Thanks very much.
That is going to hurt Ferrari fans, that comment. We maximised the package this weekend. There's a lot of work to do.
See, as I would like to say in Italian, now I talk, normally I speak in Italian, but...
I thought you said sim. I thought I would say Brazilian.
I said si.
It's the same
Certo,
anyway.
ovviamente. But yeah, it's difficult for them. They need to understand that. I think, especially bringing new updates, it's hard to understand what is happening with the tires and if that is affected by the upgrades or not, and if they were on the old bodywork, if they were better or not. So yeah, it's hard to understand that, and yeah, they just need to try to understand that for Canada, which is a completely different circuit from this.
Absolutely. Strategy was key today, of course. It always is, but particularly in a race with so many overtakes, so many pit stops, impending rain, which never arrived. So many choices to make, and an incredibly strong undercut, which ultimately delivered some great results for a number of drivers out on track today. Sam Collins, back at the studio, has been looking over it all, haven't you, Sam?
Absolutely fascinating Spanish Grand Prix from a strategic point of view. And I thought I'd take a little bit of a deeper dive at some of the strategies and some of the big surprises we saw in this Grand Prix. For me, the biggest surprise, though, was the lack of usage of the wet tyre and the intermediate tyre. And I think that came as a little bit of a surprise to some of the teams as well. Red Bull, I think, played a little bit of a blinder by going on to the medium tyre to start with. But let's take a look more at Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, because I think he was the really interesting car in this field. Started the race down here on the hard tyre, and he pushed that tyre really hard from the get-go. And he was matching a lot of the drivers on softer tyres around him at the beginning of the race. His early section of the race, he moved halfway through the field, got up to about 10th position, I think 11th position he got to, and then the tyres started to go away from him. And Ferrari noticed that, particularly in comparison to Carlos Sainz, who finished higher up, on the soft tyre, but Sainz and the Mercedes, who are on softer compounds, were taking a second lap out of Leclerc. So Leclerc's pace wasn't that sustainable. But let's not forget that about this point of the race is when all of the teams expected that rain to be coming in. And it never really emerged. Well, it didn't emerge at all, did it? And so they had to switch Leclerc onto a different tyre. He took the softs and started to enjoy those more, as we've just heard. Maybe he didn't like that set of tyres. His lap times weren't too bad, though, as I say. But for me, the big mystery for Ferrari is why did they not opt to put Leclerc on that brand new set of medium tyres that were left available to him. They didn't. They put him on the softs, and then he went back onto the hard tyres, which he took to the end of the race. That new Ferrari package, it does still seem to be resulting in them eating up the tyres, and that was what it was designed to avoid, rather than all-out lap time. Then let's take a look at Aston Martin, who couldn't have done a more different strategy with the two green cars. Fernando Alonso taking 2 sets of softs to start the race, which was a little bit odd. Lance Stroll taking the same strategy as well, then both switching to the hard tyres later on. Now, for me, that strategy was all about getting up the field as quickly as possible and trying to move up that field and start fighting towards the front of the field and hope that somewhere around here, the rain came in. But that rain never materialised. It's still loitering in the mountains around the circuit and hasn't delivered the water onto the circuit. So they had to go onto the hard tyre and went to the end. Still pretty good run for the two Aston Martins, but with a resurgent Mercedes further up the field, I think Aston Martin have got a lot of work to do. Will, you're on the sofa with somebody from Aston Martin. What do you reckon?
I think possibly. Felipe, not the day that Aston Martin wanted today. I know that much. Was this ever going to be Aston's weekend? Was there a feeling within the team that it could be turned into a podium, or was this about where you expected to be?
I think they expected a bit more, to be fair. Obviously, it was difficult to know with so many other teams bringing updates. You know, you never know where you're going to be. But I think on the road, the team was, you know, we expected a bit more. But at the same time, you know, we still brought the points to the team. They did a good job. I mean, first lap from Lance was really cool.
Great, yeah, great.
Yeah, just from the outside in turn 4, I was impressed by that. Also, Fernando did a great job, you know, just bringing the tires into their, you know, optimum life and then just bringing them in. So it was really good from the drivers, and I think, yeah, they just need to make the car a little bit quicker now. I think the car has been performing as we wanted, and no issues whatsoever, so that's good. And it was a good weekend. I think now with the others bringing updates, I think the others are getting faster, so we need to work more.
Fernando loves a late move, doesn't he? Loves a late pass. Really in the slipstream, ducking out at the last moment. There was a moment with Esteban Ocon very close down that start-finish straight. We can take a look at that, I think. Great move from him. Esteban going to defend it and then thinking, oh, actually, no, I think I've moved a bit late, moving back onto the racing line, and Fernando flies past.
Yeah, well, Esteban moved too late there.
Too late.
You know, it was very sketchy. Almost Fernando was, you know, taken out from there. But, you know, they were racing and they won. Those type of things for the fans is quite cool, and I think was clean, was just very hard racing, and you know, Fernando likes to be until the last millimeter on the slipstream to take it out, and yeah, it's a good move for him.
Shades of Jeddah in the Alpine days between those two. I want to talk about Fernando and Lance as well. Actually, no, we can see. Well, I mean, we take a look at this right now. Yeah, that's yeah, pretty similar. I want to talk about Lance and Fernando though. The relationship between those two. We only see it from the outside. You see it from the inside. I have never in my life known Fernando not to go for a position. And today he's like, tell Lance I'm not going to attack. I'm pulling up behind him, but I just want to gap the guys behind me. That's a very different Fernando to the Fernando that we've known for 20 years in this sport.
Yeah, I think everyone is surprised, even inside the team. You know, I think everyone is expecting him to, you know, obviously do the job he's doing because he's a mega driver, but also, you know, really push, you know, probably even against the teammates or, you know, anything that, you know, we've seen from him in the past years. He's a very nice guy now. He's like just so nice to everyone, even to Lance, to his teammate. So yeah, it's impressive to see him, and he's still being that nice. He's, you know, mega driver. Every time he's been on track, he just extracted everything he can.
Yeah, as Alex Jakes was saying in those last laps, it looked like a demonstration for Fernando, waving to the fans on the last lap of the Grand Prix, bringing it home behind his teammate. Lance Stroll did, as you said, have a brilliant drive today. Cracking move on a 7-time world champion round the outside of turn 4. Battling race from Lance Stroll. Great drive as well from, and in fact, just walking off over there. A great drive as well for Fernando Alonso. They come home P6 P7 as Lance goes back to the motorhome, I'm sure, to get himself a bit of refreshment and celebrate a job well done. We can hear from both of them now. So let's hear from Aston's drivers.
Lance, well done. A decent haul of points. Was the race pace slightly different to what you were expecting this afternoon?
Yeah, it was. I was a little disappointed when, cars just started passing us, and we looked to be, we had a good start and then settled into third, and I hope we could, keep a good pace throughout the race, but just suffered a lot with degradation relative to, Mercedes mainly, and Ferrari as well. They just had a quicker car today.
Are you surprised that Fernando didn't try and overtake you if he had more pace?
No, we're fighting for 6th and 7th, and I think we wanted to just bring it home at that point.
Thank you. Fernando, a lot of teammates would have told their team on the radio that they were faster. Perhaps they should have gone for another pass. But you were very happy to sit behind Lance. Can you tell me why?
Yeah, I think I was a little bit faster, like 1 or 2 tenths. Had newer tires, 10 laps to go. But when you get close to another car, you have some turbulent air, and I damaged one floor yesterday already. I didn't want to damage another one today. And I didn't want that he damaged the floor either, by defend. For us, it was the same 6th and 7th and 7th and 6th, same points. So we just, bringing the car home felt the right choice.
Do you feel that the Aston Martin hype train and the Fernando Alonso hype train slightly ran out of steam this weekend? And is that going to happen again in Canada, or are you ready to load it up again?
It will not happen again.
Oh, thank goodness you've told me
that. This is the last race without podium.
Okay, thank you.
I love that. I love that. We're going to be back there in Canada, back up there, back punching for the podiums in Canada. That's just the expectation for you guys now, isn't it?
That's called confidence.
I love that.
From 20, how many years have you been in Formula 1?
More than 20.
20.
More than
20.
20
okay.
plus.
Yeah, I think in 20 years I can get some confidence in Formula 1 as well. So, for someone to say that, we're going to be back in the podium is really nice to see from him. And, he knows that the team is there for him and to improve the car.
The team that was back on the podium this weekend, Mercedes. Let's talk about them. We're going to hear from their guys in a bit, but just what a weekend after such a difficult start. I know we touched on it at the top of the show, but they've brought the upgrades. They've rung the changes. To see that display from them today on track, looking after the tires, being able to go long on the tires, having the confidence in the car, putting the moves on, was a very, very good display.
Yeah, it was. Mercedes has been always, when they were at the top tier, they always been known for the good tire management they had, and I think, they are back at that. And now they just need to figure out the qualifying as well.
No celebrating for certain members of the Mercedes team tonight, as just like everybody else. They've got early flights home. Toto Wolff trying to escape the paddock. Can't escape Laura Winter. She's caught up with him as he was leaving.
Toto Wolff is literally scootering out of here at the rate of knots, so I'll grab him now. A double podium for Mercedes. How much confidence, how much momentum does that give you, and how pleased are you with today?
I think I'm so pleased for the factory, what's been done in the two factories, and we've taken bold and courageous design decisions, and we see that they work. They're not. It could have gone the other direction. So we mustn't praise the day before the evening. It's second and third. It's super solid, but we haven't won. So we just need to continue to grind away.
Can I ask one cheeky extra? How's Lewis Hamilton's driver contract coming along?
We just need to find time over coffee, 30 minutes, and then it's done.
Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. Safe travels.
Oh, Toto Wolff. We just need 30 minutes and Lewis's contract extension is done. Loving Toto's threads, by the way. I think we might shop at the same place, rocking the same style. Love that. Nothing wrong with an overshirt. Brilliant drive from their guys today, but at the start, George Russell under investigation for cutting that first corner. Obviously, the drivers go deep there at turn 1. They have to stick to that extra lane, come on the right side of the bollard. We saw it in Formula 2 this weekend, we saw it in Formula 3. It is possible at the start that you will make up a couple of places by doing exactly what the stewards have told you to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to judge that first corner because, you can be pushed off or you can, force yourself to be pushed off there and just go flat out straight. even do the bollard, but make up some positions. So, yeah, if any driver could choose what they can do with the track, they would just put gravel there, because it's really easy to either just brake late. If you don't make the corner, just even make some positions going straight. But I think it was fair what they did there. I think it wasn't a big problem, and yeah, they were really fast. Mercedes was amazing today.
George Russell with, I think, a really interesting day as well, a really great drive back onto the podium. I think we can hear from him, actually, now. So why don't we listen to George Russell?
Let me wipe the sweat from your brow, Mr. Russell.
How have you been waiting for that one?
Well, you've kept me waiting quite a while, so about 20 minutes. You've cracked me up. What was going on there in the cockpit?
Well, I had a bit of an issue when I started the race, because I didn't put all my hair in my balaclava, so I had hair dangling down and it was sort of flickering in front of my eyes, so that was annoying. And then as I started to sweat, it was sort of dripping down my hair, and when I was braking, it was jumping onto the visor on the inside. So it took me about 4 laps to realise what was going on, and that's sort of when I wiped my visor and the water didn't disappear. So I put 2 and 2 together and worked it out.
Well, look, it's some comic relief for us. I imagine it's a bit of a relief that the upgrades are working. Is it the upgrades alone, or has something else clicked this weekend?
No, I think we've always been strong in Barcelona, but the upgrades definitely worked as expected, which is really promising to see. And thanks a huge amount to everybody who put so much hard work and effort into this, because it's truly paying off. But we need to go into the next races. We're already looking ahead to the next updates and how we can close that gap to Red Bull.
When are those next updates coming?
Hopefully next race. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Wait for the headlines.
I think Mercedes are the best team on the grid in terms of development. We've seen it time and time again. We know where we fell short over the winter this year. We're going to do our best to claw that gap back to Red Bull, and already looking towards next year and how we can make sure that we hit the ground running. Because if we do, I think there'll be no stopping us.
But it's just closing the gap. It's not actually surpassing Red Bull, you think?
I mean, they're in a league of their own at the moment. They're cruising. I think Max probably has a couple of attempts in the pocket at the moment as well. So it's a bit of a shame for everybody else in the sport. But as I said, they've done a mega job, and we need to turn it up a notch.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Look, the smile is back on your face. Is this what you've been hoping for? Is this what we've all been hyping up these upgrades to bring, performance-wise?
This is what we were hoping for when we brought the upgrades. I mean, we had hoped for more in the sense of a bigger step. The actual performance step, they told us, was like under 0.2, so it wasn't like that's still good, but not the step that everyone's working so hard towards, but we'll take it. But this result is definitely what we're working towards, and this is amazing. And down to all the great work that's going on with the people back at the factory, just keeping their heads down. I hope everyone's feeling really proud back at the factory. And George did a great job today, so we've delivered good points on the whole. And I think today we took more points than Red Bull. I think maybe today, or as many, probably. So we just got to try and keep this up. For us to be quicker than the Ferraris and the Astons today was really mega.
And just for a tiny little dose of reality, do you think you were slightly flattered because maybe the Aston Martins and the Ferraris fell back a little today as well?
That's not the way I look at it. I like to look at the glass half full.
Yeah, that's
yep.
right.
So I think we generally had better pace than them. I think collectively as a team, we generally just did a better job. We made less mistakes. We delivered through the sessions, and we great strategy today, for example. So yeah.
Well done.
Positivity from the Mercedes drivers, but realistic comments from them both that Red Bull at the moment are just doing a phenomenal job and probably have time in hand. George Russell had the issues with the sweat during the race. Has that hampered you before? Have you had sweat going into your inside of your visor? Or?
Yeah, that's really interesting because in these races, which is quite humid, you start sweating so much from the helmet, and for the guys to have an idea how much G-force we're going through. You know, sometimes the sweat just goes down the nose, and then when you brake, it just goes straight into the visor. And if you don't have like tear-offs or anything to clean from the inside, you just have to kind of, you know, wait for a pit stop or something to open the visor. So yeah, it's a weird problem, but you know, nice to show you guys how much G-force they are pulling.
There is a solution.
What? Go slower.
Nico Rosberg used to stick a sanitary towel inside his balaclava so that it would absorb the sweat on his forehead and it wouldn't then drip down his face. That's true. That's a fact.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it worked. It worked
All right.
perfectly for him.
All right.
And do you notice he didn't give that advice to George when he was doing the interviews after the race?
Yeah, I don't think so. You know,
There you go.
George took his, you know, took his job. Well, kind of, because there was Valtteri before that. But, you know.
I think Nico gave his job up.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk Red Bull. So dominant, so impressive. Max Verstappen today just, I mean, league of his own, wasn't he?
Yeah, just so far away from the others. You know, if he would have closed this lap in qualifying, I think it would have probably just been, you know, 7/10 up the field, which is, you know, up the field to P2, which is, I don't know, crazy. And they're just so much faster, and also in this, you know, the race, you know, to finish this much in front, you know, they need some other teams to bring their parades and, you know, hunt them down, because they are doing, you know, really well. I also heard they were saying about no side pods concept, Red Bull, something like that.
Oh, don't. That'll just rub it in.
Probably, hopefully I didn't read anything wrong, but I just read something on Twitter of them talking about this. So, yeah.
Exclusive from Felipe Dragovic.
Hopefully I'm not saying, you know, BS here. But
and coming now, well, one person who can answer that is Christian Horner, but Laura caught up with him earlier, so we can't ask him about the zero side pod. But I'm sure delighted with the team's 99th win and Max Verstappen's 40th.
Christian, congratulations. For Max Verstappen, from lights to flag win, simply crushing for everybody else. Can you put into words the form he is in?
Look, his form is just, I'll borrow a word from Murray Walker, stupendous at the moment. I mean, he's at the top of his game. He's totally in control, and you know, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be working with a driver that is operating at that level. And yeah, he makes it look very easy. The team are operating at such a high level as well. Pit stops, the strategy, everything just played out brilliantly today.
He tested the limits of the track, didn't he? He wasn't entirely happy with the hard tyre, but still got the job done.
He did, and there was a debate between him and his engineer, who's just giving him the info. But I think he knew he got plenty of pace in hand and was still pretty safe with that fastest lap.
And a top, bless you, a top 5 for Sergio Perez. In the pre-race show, you said that's what you wanted. It was P4 in the end, a decent recovery drive from him.
Yeah, and getting so close to that podium in the end as well. So he lost a little on the first lap, got a little bit unlucky, but do you know what? His comeback and his pace was phenomenal, and I think that you know, he will take a lot of confidence from that race today.
Yeah, and head down, getting the job done. Look, you shared a podium then with 2 Mercedes drivers. They weren't that far behind you. I know you say Max did have pace in hand, but are you aware of the threat coming from Mercedes as these new upgrades begin to bed in?
Well, sure, look, I mean, they're a big team, they're a quality team, so they're not going to be standing still. They bought pretty much a B-spec car, you know, to the last event. So, you know, a more impressive performance by them today, but, you know, we still had a reasonable margin. So, so yeah, it's good to see that.
Absolutely. And on to Canada next up, a different prospect entirely.
Well, yeah, we're going there on the back of 99 wins now. So if we could achieve the century in Montreal, that'd be a great place to do it.
Thank you very much. Well done today, Christian.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, if they take their 100 wins in Canada, if Max does it, he will have won 41% of all the races that Red Bull have won. He's now their most winning driver in the sport. As Christian said, a great drive from Sergio today to make that place up, make the positions up. But Max just peerless this weekend. You mentioned his qualifying runs. The ability to leave the pits and not even do a banker lap. His banker lap was the pole lap yesterday. That confidence, that ability, when you're just at one with a car, what's that like for a driver, just to know that you can turn it on immediately?
It's something just, you know, so natural that it happens. I think every driver has, every driver that has been in Formula One has felt that at least once, in any other categories, when you're very connected with a car and just go out the pits and one lap push and then where's the limit. You do one corner, what's the grip of the car. And then it's like, okay, this is the grip, so I can push this, that. So, yeah, it's very impressive from him. Also the way he's driving, I've never seen anything like that. I already said a few times, he's kind of, power sliding out of the corners, which is counterintuitive for an F1 car, but so impressive the way he's pushing the car through the corners.
Yeah, to the extent that Sergio Perez even admitted he's had to change some of his driving style, tried to change his driving style this weekend to try and do what Max is doing with the car. Can anyone do what Max Verstappen does with the car? On current evidence, probably not. He is driving utterly supremely. Let's hear from the reigning world champion and the man stretching his legs in the World Championship lead.
Max, congratulations. All weekend long, your fellow drivers have been telling me that you're on another planet. Is it lonely out there on Max's planet?
I'm on the same planet. But no, it's been a really good weekend. I mean, the car was really nice to drive. Then you have a lot of confidence, to really get everything out of it, and quite natural as well. And then in the race, yeah, we knew that, of course, with that tire choice, maybe it was a bit more risky to turn one, but luckily everything worked out. And yeah, from there onwards, I could do my own race, even though on the hard compound I was not really happy. Probably the compound was a bit too hard for the conditions with colder weather and just not a lot of grip. Yeah, once I swapped back to the soft, I think you could see the gap was going up again, and yeah, that tire was just a bit better.
Was there a little bit of daydreaming going on because of the track limits, or?
No, it was just on the hard tires. Sometimes it was just a bit inconsistent to drive, and then I ended up a bit too wide.
Plans for the 10 days off or the week off?
Yeah, a little bit of relaxation and mainly at home.
You've got to celebrate sometime, haven't you?
A little bit.
Well done, thank you.
I like that. He's got to celebrate a little bit before Canada. Max never really used to celebrate until the job was done. I think that probably implies he knows just what he's got at his disposal this year with that car. Felipe, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate it, mate. Thank you for your insight. It's always great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, see you in, I think I'll be back in Austria.
Spa.
So, no, but...
Not coming back until Spa.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. See you in Spa, and thank you very much for watching.
Right, let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship and see who shakes out where after this Spanish Grand Prix. We all know who's at the top of the standings. It is, of course, Max Verstappen on 170 points from Sergio Perez on 117. Then it's Fernando Alonso, 99 points from Lewis Hamilton on 87, Russell on 65, Carlos Sainz 58 ahead of Leclerc on 42, then Stroll, Ocon and Gasly. Behind them, Lando Norris for McLaren is on 12, then it's Hülkenberg and Piastri, Bottas and Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen and Alex Albon, Nyck De Vries and Logan Sargent, the only drivers in 2023 yet to score a point. Now, the next race coming up is the Canadian Grand Prix, and you can join F1 TV, as always, for everything, beginning on Thursday with your weekend warm-up, then on Friday the 16th of June, practice 1 at 1:15 local time, practice 2 at 4:45. On Saturday, practice 3 comes your way at 12:15, qualifying at 4, before the race on Sunday, 2 p.m. local time, the Formula 1 Pirelli Grand Prix du Canada. And that, folks, is it from the Spanish Grand Prix. Formula 1 has returned to its European heartland, but the story remains the same. Red Bull Racing prove unmatchable, unbeatable. Can they be bested in Canada? Who will take the challenge to them? Can Aston Martin fight back? Can Ferrari find their form? Can Mercedes continue the impressive pace they showed this weekend? Enjoy the Canadian Grand Prix. It's been a great weekend in Spain. See you soon.